Hey guys, welcome back to Fleet Footed. It's your boy Tosin coming at you live and direct from Norway. Me and my wife are just here visiting family, but we must still record. We must still talk football. And I only got two things I want to highlight today, guys. I want to look at the aftermath of Arsenal versus Sevilla, and I also want to give my thoughts on Mikel Arteta's outburst last weekend, which so many papers are panning. Right? So let's start with Sevilla. Arsenal 2, Sevilla 0, right? Before the match, there was a pre-match interview Arteta was having with Laura Woods, Ferdinand, Kieran, all of those guys on TNT Sports. And they were talking to him about, obviously, Arsenal's offensive performances, the control. And Arteta had to, set the record straight, which I kind of like. He goes, guys, the type of control I like is not control when our keeper is just when we're passing it around our half and giving it to our keeper. He said the type of control he wants is when we're within the opponent's box and we're dominating them or creating chances, right? And he was basically imploring the team to be a lot more riskier in comparison, because they were asking him about Newcastle. What do you think he would like to see? He goes, he would like to see the team take more risks, right? And that's what I saw. That's what I saw in the match. Perfect example is Jorginho's pass to Saka. I didn't see him play one of those against Newcastle. Did not see that. Maybe that's showing respect to Newcastle, not wanting to make a mistake. But the team listened, and we did. And I thought that was a fantastic performance. Now, it is to be said, Sevilla at the start of the season is a completely different animal from Sevilla at the end of the season. But that being said, to limit them in a Champions League game, I don't care if we're playing at home, in a European tie, Champions League game, to limit them to one shot at home, especially at the end, is a madness. They were on course to finish with 0 expected goals, 0 shots. Right? Now, yes, they did play well, but we were really good. And I was quite impressed. I was quite impressed with how dominant we were. But it needs to be said though, there's a reason why our best performances this season have come in the Champions League. Why? Because teams don't respect us as much as the Premier League do. And it's kind of like what was happening with Napoli last season, where Napoli were slapping teams in their league, but they were coming to Champions League and teams were not giving them that respect and they were moving to teams. And that's why it's a shame that they faltered the way they did against Milan, because they could have really won it, right? And I think that teams are doing that to Arsenal. Fair enough. We don't have the European pedigree that the likes of Chelsea, Man United, Man City, even Liverpool have. I'm saying even Liverpool. Yeah, they have European pedigree. So long may it continue, because you're not seeing teams low blocking us, which every Premier League team is doing now. Whether we play home or away, they're just low blocking us on a mad one. And the fact, like I said in my last episode, the fact that we're still able to withstand that and still be where we are on the table deserves some credit. Right? Offensively, we were really good. And a big part of that was Martinelli and Saka, right? Now, I'm going to say something that probably Arsenal fans aren't going to like right now. But I was looking at both of the players, and both of them are incredible. It's both young, ridiculously talented. For me, they're the two best wingers in Europe after Vinicius, their age. I think about, in terms of great wingers in the league, of course Doku is good and whatnot, he's sick, right? But I think Martinelli and Saka have been doing bits for us on the Premier League stage for consistently carrying us for a long time now, and they're a massive part of the way we play. But I think Bukayo Saka is a better player than Martinelli for me. And the reason why I say that is because Martinelli was amazing yesterday. And he got his assist for Saka at the end, right? Great pass. Saka has a great, bends his run immaculately. But Martinelli tore apart his fullback. Only thing you're crying for, bro, that end product. The end product. And this is where I think Saka edges it for me. Though Martinelli is a better finisher than Saka, he's not that much a better finisher than Saka. Martinelli probably 8 out of 10. Is putting away 8 out of 10 in front of goal. Saka is putting away 7 out of 10 because the guy's finishing is really good and has stepped up a level the past few seasons as well, right? But for me, why I think Saka is a better player than Martinelli, though Martinelli is a really sick player, is Saka. His end product is just nuts. The guy, his weight of pass, his delivery. I think his corners need to improve sometimes. But he always produces something when he gets into that final third. Always produces something. And I think this is where Martinelli actually needs to learn from Saka. Maybe learn about how Saka gets the right weight of pass. I don't know, maybe play with his head up at the very, very last minute. But I think that's all Martinelli needs to improve in, and he can be on a par with Saka. But right now, I think it's clear that Saka is better than Martinelli. And I'm not ashamed to actually admit that. It goes to show just how sick Bukayo is. But also how sick Martinelli is that he's touching Bukayo, even though his end product needs to improve. Right? So that's all I'll say on that matter. I think lastly, Havertz was pants. I'm not having this agenda. He was pants. He should have scored yesterday, or at least gotten on target. Zinchenko, that was Zinchenko's best performance this season. Long may that continue, because we're playing Burnley in the weekend. All respect to Premier League. It's the Premier League. Anything can happen, but Arsenal at home should be beating Burnley and should be dominating them. I don't care about the Champions League midweek. We should be beating them. But that being said, Zinchenko, best game. It remains to be seen whether he plays instead of Tomiyasu, because Tomiyasu went up because of Arteta says it was a precaution, but hopefully it's not a big injury because he's been in good form. But even if he doesn't play, on the basis of Zinchenko's showing against Sevilla yesterday, I'm not that mad at him playing against Burnley at home, given the way Burnley play. And Trossard does what Trossard does. Very technical, improves the fluidity of the team. However, I think he can be a bit hit and miss, because now you're going to get fans clamoring, how can Arteta not play him and keep playing Nketiah, which is a fair point, but there's times, guys, where Trossard has played and he's been absolute dog poo, like this season. Dog poo. Where I think we need to use Trossard is, I think we should play Trossard as the 8. He can play in between the lines. He's someone I trust to receive the ball, turn, and actually drive forward, dribble at people. He's got a good eye for a pass. Nitz likes the 1-2s. Nitz play together. Why not play him as the 8 and Havertz as the false 9? Because clearly Arteta isn't going to drop Havertz anytime soon. Ødegaard is injured. Vieira can't buy a start for some reason. So if you're going to play Havertz, at least play him as the centre forward, where probably he had his best game against Man City for Arsenal in the Community Shield. You play Trossard. It's just my thoughts. Anywho, that's all I'll say on the Sevilla match and my thoughts on that. I want to quickly touch on Arteta's outburst, right? And it's interesting because Arteta's gotten so much criticism from newspapers, right? And it's interesting because none of these... It's weird. It's like none of them watch his post-match interviews, because it's actually rare for Arteta to really, really go in on referees the way he did last Saturday. He rarely does it. Even when we've had poor decisions like the Brentford forgetting to draw the lines and the offside stuff. Even in games last season and even this season where Saka gets kicked all over the pitch and doesn't get the protection, Arteta rarely spends time talking about referees. He more focuses on what he could have done better, which I like. He's a guy that takes a lot of personal responsibility for the way the team plays. And he more talks about what the team could do better. So for him to do what he did last Saturday was unprecedented. But at the same time, the level of officiating was unprecedented in that it was so bad, so horrible, right? And why do I say that? Because, number one, elbow Guimaraes. Like, in what world can someone run up to someone with the intent to elbow them in the head and only get a yellow and not a red for violent conduct in today's game? Actually, not even in today's game. If I did that on the street, that's assault. You can literally do me for assault and get me convicted. So for that not to get a red card is absolutely bonkers to me. And then you've got all of these physics experts showing you, the circumference of a sphere and why it's inconclusive. Bruh, that ball has gone out. If that happens against Newcastle, you better believe Howe is going to be fuming and being like, that should go out. That should not be a goal. And then Joe Linton's hands are all over Gabriel's head, pushing him. And you've got some people that have the audacity to say, oh yeah, Gabriel is leaning forward. What? So Arteta is absolutely justified to say what he said. Where, however, I draw the line, and this is probably where Arsenal fans are going to disagree with me, where I draw the line is when we're compiling our list of grievances and going to PGMOL and blah, 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 blah. That's where I draw the line, right? Because the game is done, and one thing I cannot stand, right, is victimhood. And I think if we do that, if we go down that path, oh, you're against us, you're against us, you're against us, what we're doing, even though there have been grievances, there have been bad decisions, there have been injustices against us, if we go down this path, we're victimizing ourselves. And this is something I want to say, because I'm seeing a lot of the fan bases really, a lot of the Arsenal fan base is really hyper-focused on PGMOL, right? And I think if we go down this route, I don't really see it improving the team. Because there's a scripture in the Bible that reminds me of this occasion. It's in Romans chapter 8, verses 28. It says that, for we know that in all things means good or bad. In all things, God is working for the good of those who love him. That scripture teaches that for those who have their eyes focused on God, that all things happening in their lives happen for them. Even the bad things, even the horrible things, even the injustices. It happens for their good, right? And this scripture actually helps me, and it's my mantra for life as of late, right? Basically, right? It's something that I try to live out. I'm not perfect at it, but it's something that I'm really trying to preach to myself, because I can also struggle with victimizing myself. And what I preach to myself is this: things in life either happen for me or because of me. They're not happening to me. They're happening for me and because of me. Why? Because why do I say this in relation to Arsenal? Because I don't think a hyper focus on PGMOL helps us in the long run. It doesn't. A hyper focus on PGMOL doesn't help us with our defending that was atrocious for the goal in the first place. A hyper focus on PGMOL isn't the reason that we got to focus on. I like to focus first on what can I do differently. Same way Arsenal need to focus on what could they have done and what can they do differently to have a different outcome, even when there are injustices and grievances, right? Which there will be, and there's going to be more of that. Not just happening to us, but to many other teams. Now, what could Arsenal have done differently? Let me list them. PGMOL is not the reason Ben White was not tight to his man to stop that cross, which he did against Nottingham Forest at the start of the season for the goal that we conceded, which he did against Crystal Palace, which he tends to do. I love Benny Blanco, but he tends to do this a lot. He does not stay tight to his man, and he allows crosses in, which means we concede chances and we yield goals, right? PGMOL is not the reason for Raya's abysmal positioning and flapping at that cross. That's not PGMOL's fault. Raya did that. If his positioning is better, he could either punch that ball away or catch the cross or claim it. Sorry. PGMOL is also not the reason for a woeful attacking performance. PGMOL is not the reason for delayed changes by Mikel Arteta. They're not the reason for that. They are the reason for the shocking call. But all of these four things I've listed are things Arsenal can improve on. And if we improve on them, we are going to be able to go to grounds like Newcastle and play teams as good as Newcastle at their ground and beat them. Because if Arsenal addressed all of those things, we leave there with 3 points. Because I made a mistake on Twitter saying, Newcastle wanted it more. No, they did not. We matched them for physicality. We did not get bullied off the park, which they tried to do to us last season, which didn't work. We did not get bullied off the park. We matched them for intensity. From our box to the halfway line, we were better than them. It's just offensively, we were atrocious. We were not knitting the play from midfield to attack well enough, like we usually do. And yes, Newcastle disrupted that, but we were also really poor offensively. So PGMOL did not have anything to do with that. So why I'm saying we Arsenal need to focus on this is because if we focus on this, then we can go to teams like Newcastle who play the same way they're going to play against us, and we can get the W's. If we focus on being tighter to stop the cross, if we focus on improving our offensive play between midfield and attack, which has not been the best against low blocks, which we're still trying to figure out how to do well against. If our keeper, who, let's be honest, has not been better than Ramsdale, he's not been. If his positioning is better, then we leave there, despite the grievances of the referee, we leave there with 3 points. Because if we address those things in the game, we slap up Newcastle, even with that dodgy goal they allow. So this is my mindset. I'm not trying to focus on PGMOL. I'm trying to focus on why can't we be better in those areas? And I'm sure Mikel will be focusing on the same. So this is why I think long run, it doesn't really help us focusing on PGMOL. Like, it doesn't help us. In the same way, it doesn't help you as a person in life if you focus only on the injustices done against you and you never focus on what you could do differently. Yes, injustices and grievances in life are going to happen. But if you don't focus on how you can change, how you can be better, how does that help you grow? You're going to be a victim for life. And this is what I don't want for myself. And this is certainly what I don't want for Arsenal. We don't grow if we victimize ourselves. So that's all I really wanted to say on that matter. Anywho, guys, we've come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to like this video. I need to get my likes up. Please make sure to share this video. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And please make sure to watch this all the way through as well, because it really helps the algorithm for me to appear more for Arsenal-related content if people watch all the way through as opposed to just watching and then leaving. So thank you so much, guys, for all of your support. I will see you again after the Burnley match. Take care.